Now, on this Women's Day, we remember the courageous South African women and the contributions they've made to women's rights in South Africa. But for many of us, this is a day filled with fear and sadness. The scourge of gender-based violence, femicide, high unemployment and wage disparities continues. The Southern African Institute for Response and Accountable Governance is now calling upon the President to reflect on the implementation of the Equality Act and the gaps in that particular act. For more on this, we're joined by the organization's Tammy Carter to talk more about these issues. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time this afternoon, Tammy. I don't know if you had the opportunity to listen to the President's speech earlier on today, but he did reflect on some of the grave concerns that still exist for women, one of them being gender-based violence, which remains to be a pain point that our government and related stakeholders can't seem to handle.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you for having us on. I did not have the opportunity to listen to the President's statement today. However, in this country, the scourge of gender-based violence has been talked about and talked about and talked about. As SIRAC, what we are asking about is why, when we have mechanisms in the law which seek to address, amongst others, gender equality, have those mechanisms not been put into operation after all these many years? The Equality Act, PAPUDA, was passed in 2000. It came into operation in 2003. And since then, sections 25 and 28 of that act have not been put into operation because these provide mechanisms for proper oversight by government. SIRAC has been beating this drum about oversight and the need for effective oversight since its inception. And one of the mechanisms for ensuring effective oversight is, of course, the Equality Act and the mechanisms provided in that act. So that is our question to the President, our call to him as SIRAC, is that he needs to reflect very seriously, if he is at all serious about eradicating gender-based violence, eradicating the disproportionate burdens on the women of this country of poverty and crime and joblessness and hunger. If he is at all serious about these things, then he will give serious thought to why it is that sections 25 and 28 of the Equality Act are not properly implemented.
And of course, a huge part of this is the realization that it doesn't all fall on presidency to make sure these policies are put into place or carried out as they should be. We need ministries like the Ministry of Justice to be coming on board to ensure that whatever it is that we're calling for as women and for our broader safety, the different stakeholders are hands-on in carrying those mandates out.
Absolutely. There is a justice cluster that is supposed to be cooperating together to ensure that the vision of our Constitution is being carried out when it comes to matters of especially safety and security, matters of equality as well. However, we have seen from what has transpired in recent weeks where women are concerned that communities are crying out for better policing, for better operations at court, for more effective oversight to ensure that the things that are going wrong at the moment are corrected, are addressed. What we are seeing is that this is not happening. And so, yes, definitely there is a role to be played by the Justice Ministry, by the Police Ministry. And as SIRAC, we are saying there is a vehicle for you to ensure that you can carry out that role more effectively. Why is it not being used?
Another question that we're asking 28 years into democracy, Tammy, is why women are disregarded when it comes to compensation for work that they can do equally or even better than their male counterparts. The President made an example of Banyana that recently came home with the AFCON Cup, but the pay disparity that still exists is a huge problem, and it shouldn't take women winning things like the AFCON Cup for women to realize that that South African women are capable, if not more than men, and deserve equal playing ground as well as equal compensation. Why are we seeing that this is not being adequately dealt with within private South Africa as well as government departments?
Well, again, we see situations where the law effectively provides for this equality. But while oversight, which is direly necessary, is not taking place as it should be taking place. And this is why SIRAG is focusing for this Women's Month on sections 25 and 28 of the Equality Act, is that provides among the oversight mechanisms for government, for business to be reporting on issues such as pay disparities, so that if there are steps that they need to be taken, they can be taken against the defaulting parties, as it were. There is no reason that under our Constitution, under our Equality Act, with the progressive laws that we have in this country, that there should still be pay disparities.
And of course, it brings into question the government's sincerity and their willingness to incorporate women on every single level in every sector within the country. When we see what you've just mentioned there as lackluster implementation and the lack of oversight, it just kind of one wonders or questions the value that they have within the country as a woman, because we do know that women are more than capable to contribute quite significantly, not only to households in personal capacities, but to the economy at large.
Absolutely. Again, women show, and statistically, there are studies without end which demonstrate that when women are economically active, it doesn't only affect them and their families, it affects their immediate communities as well. So as to the question of the contribution made by women to this country, it speaks for itself when we remember the brave women who marched against the might of an entire government for the purpose of us being free as women. But today, for many of us women, where we see the suffering that our sisters, our mothers, our cousins, our friends go through, can we truly say, as females, that we are free? This is a massive, massive question for all of us. People marched, they put their bodies on the line, they put their lives on the line so that we could be free. All of our freedom fighters who we honor, they made sacrifices that we can only look at in awe. But today, with the gender statistics, the statistics on gender-based violence, can women in this country say that they are free? And unfortunately, if we are to answer that question, then we must say that the women of this country are not free.
And that is a very important note to end it on. Tammy, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That is Tammy Carter from the South African Institute for Response and Accountable Governance, indicating that, in fact, women in South Africa are not free, whether it be financially or physically regarding their safety. We are still not free, and something needs to change.